Sound check test 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Sound check test 1 2 1 2. We are in here. Go live. Here. Thump it in. Congrats on being the first person into the live stream this morning. We are making sure we are active on every other platform so we can get to what we need to get to. Make sure everything looks the way it's supposed to look. And we are leaning a little bit. There we go. That's better. So YouTube, good morning. We are here. Rumble, X, good morning. Facebook, good morning. LinkedIn, good morning. Instagram, good morning. TikTok, good morning. I will tell you all what happened last week in one moment. Because my last live stream was on Wednesday of last week, and today is Monday. I will tell you what occurred in one moment. Let me just make sure we got everything set up the way it's supposed to be set up so we can get into what we need to get into here. First, letting you all know what the hell has been happening for the last 5 days. One thing I will tell you up front, the good news about the last 5 days, good morning, Nikki. The good news about the last 5 days, folks, is that I did not get suspended by TikTok again. I was not suspended by TikTok the last 5 days, but I have not. Well, I usually don't go live on Saturdays and Sundays, but I did not do a live stream on Thursday or Friday last week because after I did the live that I did last Wednesday, I picked up some type of fever from my 2-year-old child, and I was in bed for literally 48 hours straight. So all the rest of the day Wednesday and all day Thursday, and I was out of bed on Friday, but I was still like, I don't know, like lightheaded, woozy. It didn't feel good. So didn't do a live stream on Friday, and slowly getting the recovery back Saturday, Sunday, today. I think I look and sound pretty much closer back to normal. I'm not exactly 100% yet. I'm probably 85, 90%, but that'll catch up as we go into this week. So just to let you all know, y'all didn't miss Thursday and Friday on any particular application. I just was not live because things are crazy. So what we're going to talk about here today is this whole issue of USAID. I just call it USAID, but I hear people calling it USAID. That's what we're going to talk about today. We know it's been a big debate, a lot of stuff being said about it, even back into last week. It's been an ongoing thing. It's not just USAID. We're going to talk about that on some levels, but really we're going to talk about the bigger picture of what Elon and Doge, Department of Government Efficiency, with permission from President Trump, what they've been doing, how they went and occupied the, what was it, Department of Education building they went and occupied. Then it was the CFBP or CFPB. I don't remember what the acronym was. They went and shut down that building. Actually, depending on who you ask, some people would say that they attacked it. Was it CFPB or CFBP? What is that? Yeah, CFPB. CFPB. Vivek Ramaswamy has something to say about this, and we'll touch on that as well. This is not consumer. This is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and of course, if you use social media, you see people basically framing this in all different ways to make it seem terrible, or they're happy because it's happening. Let's get into it and talk about it. My name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day, former 9-year pro athlete, author of 40 books, done 4 TEDx talks. I created this brand called Work on Your Game. You can find out more about that by going to dreuniversity.com. What we do over here is we help people with their highest level of performance, producing the highest level of results, and of course, doing all of this consistently. So we work with sales teams, entrepreneurs, transitioning professionals, such as leaving the military, leaving maybe some of you leaving government jobs because Doge is shutting you down and kicking you out. people who are starting businesses, athletes transitioning out of military, transitioning out of corporate, work with a lot of people in those areas, and just generally high performers. So getting into the topic here today, the USAID debate, I'm going to give you a couple quick arguments that are in the defense of USAID, because the thing about USAID, if you are similar to me, before this whole thing happened last week, you probably did not know that USAID was even an entity. You didn't even know that it existed, even though they have a big building, or at least they had a big building in Washington, D.C., with a whole bunch of people working for them and a whole lot of money flowing to and through their organization. I don't know, again, any of you who's a super follower of the government, maybe you knew about it. I had no idea that they existed. So when Doge decided to go after them, that's when everybody went up in arms. And we know, or we all know this, that the only reason that a lot of people are up in arms about what Doge is doing is because of whom Doge is connected to, which is Donald Trump. Everybody has an opinion about Donald Trump, and a lot of people really don't like, it's not even that they don't like him personally. Most people don't even know him personally. They don't like the idea of Donald Trump. So anything that you could connect to his name, people will find a way to frame it as negative. Now, some people are doing that simply because they have Trump derangement syndrome. I've done entire live streams explaining Trump derangement syndrome. I also did a whole series on my masterclass. Some of you call those podcasts. I have a podcast that comes out every day called Work on Your Game, where I explain Trump derangement syndrome, where exactly it comes from and why people have it. So you got those people who just don't like the idea of Donald Trump and they're doing it. Then you have people who are doing it strategically. They do it strategically because they are in government. That's their job, to be in government. So if you're on the left side, or even if you're a Republican, but you're a never Trump Republican, you're an anti-Trump Republican, then it is beneficial for you to present Trump as an enemy of you. So, or you as opposition to Donald Trump. Why? Because if you present yourself as opposition to Donald Trump, the people who agree with you, your constituents, your voters, they will more likely vote for you in your next election. They will provide money to you and donate to you when you need to raise money to win for your campaign. And it just builds your brand to trash Donald Trump. So a whole lot of people have built their careers and brands over the last 10 years by trashing Donald Trump, regardless of what side they're on, but because that's part of their career move to trash Donald Trump. At the same time, there's somebody like, let's just say myself, who can leverage talking about Donald Trump, not even necessarily in a positive way, but not in a negative way, but just talking about him, period, because it draws attention. And then you have people who are staunchly MAGA supporters, and they talk about him in a positive way. The whole point is everybody benefits from Donald Trump. Right? Everybody's benefiting from him, whether you are trashing him, whether you are talking neutrally about him, or you are supporting him. So this USAID issue is not about USAID, because generally, most people don't give a damn about USAID, didn't know they existed, and won't give a damn next week. But you can give a damn now because it's connected to Donald Trump and therefore draws attention. And since most people live very relatively boring lives, anything that draws attention, they'll pay attention to it, because what else are you going to pay attention to? So that's where all this comes. That's where all this stems from. That's where all it actually starts from. So, and by the way, I'm going to take all questions and comments at the end. So just a couple things on USAID. Is, again, I didn't know who they were before. So I went and did a little bit of research to find out what are some things about them that maybe make them a positive organization, or were, or are. Let's just say are for now. Number one is global health and humanitarian aid. USAID plays a crucial role. This is at least what I found. They address global health crises. They provide humanitarian assistance, and they contribute to international stability and goodwill. Now, that's what it says. To me, that's kind of a shoulder shrug right there. They contribute to international stability and goodwill. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, I've always had this question about the United States of America. Why do we need to be in the center of everybody else's business? I've never understood, why does the United States need to be the one who is there to support or help or bail out everybody else when they have some type of issue? They're all coming to us for help. I actually understand the answer. I have an answer to the question. The answer is, of course, when you're the person in, or the entity in power, of course, you want to have your hands, kind of your tentacles into everything, because that gives you more power, because all roads lead back to you. If someone needs something and they're coming to you, Well, then if you ever want to get anything from them, well, you can call in a favor because you helped them out in the past. So I understand why America does this, but there's a counter to that point as well. The counter is, in the United States of America, we don't have all of our shit together. We have people here who have served our country as military veterans. They're not taken care of right now. So how are we able to cut checks and help other countries? And we're not even helping the people who live here, the actual citizens here in America. We got homeless people in America right now who didn't get the same benefits thrown at their feet that immigrants who have come into this country and who are able to achieve legal status within a couple of days or weeks. They got stuff that homeless people who've been living here for decades, their entire lives, they didn't get. So there's this juxtaposition between America helping everybody else, and we're not even taking care of our own business on the inside. And I understand both sides of this argument. So one thing for USAID, allegedly, is that they help address global health crises and provide humanitarian assistance. Actually, I do believe that USAID was doing that, but I'm not finished. We're just talking about some positives for them, and we're going to get to the other side of this in a moment because we're going to be fair. Second thing is economic development. By supporting economic growth in developing countries, USAID, I'm going to just say USAID, the same group, helps create markets for U.S. goods and services, fostering global trade relationships. Again, now this is all the corporate explanation of what they do to make them look good, okay? I'm making sure y'all understand that. And what they're saying is that USAID, what they do is help develop other markets outside of the United States, which then makes those places more open to buying the goods that we create and export from here in the United States. Was actually what they're saying is we make this investment up front, and then the businesses in America who export stuff, you'll be able to sell stuff to those people because now they're developed and open to actually receiving those things. Again, do I think that they're telling the truth? I do believe they're telling the truth. Now, actually, let me back up. Do I think that that's factually accurate? The answer is yes. And notice I'm changing my language here. Do I believe it's the truth? No, because the truth means you got to tell the whole story, not just some of the story. So this is some of the story. Is this part of the story accurate? I believe, yes, it is. It fosters global trade relationships. And I'm going to answer questions and comments at the end, by the way. Number 3. And actually, let me talk a little bit more about this economic development. This is another big issue that a lot of Americans have with our government in general, which is how is it that we are so able to serve other countries and help their economies and help their people with our alleged, seemingly, these vast resources of money. Yet at the same time, our government is in debt, and we got people here in America who are not being taken care of. We got people here who don't always know where their next meal is coming from. People who can't pay their own bills, people who can't cover housing, people who are arguing about the price of eggs and milk, and people who can't even pay for childcare for their kids. How are we able to give money to develop other countries? This seems to be a backwards process, and there is an argument for that. We'll get to that as we move on. Moving on to number 3. And again, I'm giving you the positive things that we can say about USAID. Number 3 is national security. Development aid can mitigate conditions that lead to extremism and conflict, thereby enhancing U.S. national security. So this is a big deal, this part right here, because the United States government spends more money on defense than we spend on anything else. And there's a reason why the United States hasn't been invaded in a very long, actually we haven't been invaded ever. One time we had an attack was Pearl Harbor, but we have never really been invaded where there was an army like here and doing stuff. That hasn't ever happened. And national security issue, they're saying that extremism can pop up in these small pockets of places where the United States is basically not paying attention. So you know about the extremist groups and different groups you can call extremists these days, and how the United States of America tends to use them as a boogeyman to scare and entice Americans into okaying, let's go put some more money into this. Let's go do that. Let's go take care of this. Let's go look at these things, whether domestically or in a foreign way, simply because we're afraid of another 9/11 happening. We're afraid of some type of terrorist attack, or basically those two things. And it can start with something that's happening off of our land, outside of our land. And we can always be reminded, hey, you remember what happened in 2001, 9/11, 2001. A lot of people still remember that. We don't want that to happen again, right? Therefore, any of these extremist groups, any group you call an extremist, because that's what they labeled the group that allegedly did 9/11, right? Whole different conversation, but that's what they labeled those people. And a lot of people bought into that and believe it to this very day. It's taught in history classes these days. I guess now that's history class, what happened on 9/11. And they're like, hey, you don't want another extremist group. You don't want another terrorist group. You don't want another bin Laden. You don't want those things, right? So what we have to do is we have to make sure that we're funding our national security by taking care of other countries' national security. That's one of the things that allegedly USAID is doing. Next, number 4 thing that USAID does, and again, I'm giving you the positives right now. We're not done. This is just half of the story. Diplomatic influence. USAID's programs enhance U.S. influence abroad by promoting democratic values and institutions. This one is where we got to throw a flag on the play. Got to throw a flag on this play right here. Those of you who pay maybe somewhat attention to what the United States has done over the years, and not even just the United States, but other countries, this is one of the biggest mistakes, and they shouldn't even have this on their list of things that countries do when they get arrogant and when they start overreaching their power, is they take their culture, their way of living, and their democratic governmental systems, and they try to implement those same cultures, systems, and governments into other countries. This is a complete fail. They tried to do this in a country that starts with the letter I after about 20 years ago, after 9/11 happened. And then somehow, some way, we get convinced by George W. Bush that, it's the country with the letter I, they're the problem. So we went and fought in the country for the letter I for several years. And I'm being careful not saying these countries' names because I don't know what TikTok's restrictions are. So we went and fought that country for several years. And then we tried, some of you know about this, we tried to install democracy in that country. They didn't want democracy. That failed. They tried. When I say they, I mean the United States, our government and our military tried to install a democratic system in that country, in a country that is not a democratic country. And it did not work. It was a complete failure. And this is just the arrogance this is just Western arrogance. That's all this is. I can't call it anything else. It's thinking that we're going to put, and this is right here on the list, and this is not necessarily from their website, but this is positive things that would be said about USAID. Influence abroad by promoting democratic values and institutions. Here's the problem with democratic values and institutions. Not everybody wants democratic values and institutions. Not everybody has democratic values, period. Therefore, they don't want democratic institutions. This is a bad idea. So USAID says this is one of or anyone who is saying, if they want to give a endorsement of USAID, they say, hey, here's a positive thing that they're doing. This is a bad idea. Not everybody's interested in this. You can't go install that in a place that ain't open for it and doesn't want it. Their people don't even want it. Because here's what happens in a lot of places. For example, I talked about feminism a lot in these live streams that I do. You'll hear women say things like, hey, women should be free and have the freedom to do what they want to do and start their own businesses and live life how they want to live them. And if they want to show off their bodies, they can show off their bodies. And someone says, well, go to that country that starts with the letters AFG. And you see the women don't live like that. And the women here in America, in Western society, will say, well, that's because those women are being suppressed and they should be allowed to live how they want to live. And they should have freedom over there the same way they have over here. The reality is the women over there don't want to live like the women over here because they could get on a plane, seek asylum, and come here to the United States. They don't want to. And because they look at the way we live over here and say, y'all, let me back up and say it this way. Many Western society dwellers, that's most of you, especially those of you who are Americans, tend to have this American arrogance that you think the American way is just perfect and there are no flaws and that everybody should want to live how you live. This is not true. And this is one of the biggest challenges that America has when we start sticking our nose in other countries' businesses, is that we think we need to make them more like us. They don't want to be like us, because especially in the world that we're living in now, and this would be much more true had Kamala Harris won the 2024 election. Hopefully, luckily she didn't. But had Kamala Harris won the 2024 election, a lot of other countries that do not have our same cultures and our same governments would have been looking at us like, you mofos really think that your way is the best way? Do you see this? Do you see your women? Do you see your children? Do you see your families? Do you see your homeless? Do you see what's happening in your country? Why would we want to live like you? And a lot of countries still say this, even with Donald Trump winning, because he only going to be around for another 4 years. A lot of countries do not want to be like America, but this USAID, one of their positive points is that they promote democratic values and institutions. Not everybody wants that. Moving on. Last point. And these are the positives about USAID. Specialized expertise. As an independent agency, allegedly, USAID possesses specialized knowledge and capabilities in development that complement diplomatic efforts. All right, this is a corporate word salad. It doesn't mean anything. We ain't got to spend time on that one. Any of you who works in corporate America or you work in the government, you've seen that sentence before. Let me read it again. USAID possesses specialized knowledge, means nothing, and capabilities, also another nothing word, in development. Again, what does that mean? Nothing. That complement diplomatic efforts. What does any of that mean? That's a whole bunch of nothing. All right, there's a big long sentence with a bunch of big words that mean absolutely nothing. This is corporate speak, and I'm not corporate. So let's move on. Now let's get to the arguments against USAID's existence. Then we're going to talk about what the real issue is here. Was actually none of this, but we're going to talk about, we got to talk about USAID because that's the topic. Number one, bureaucratic inefficiency. This is exactly why Doge is there. What does Doge stand for? Department of Government Efficiency. So one of the biggest challenges with USAID is their bureaucratic inefficiency. These are two words that I'm not a fan of. Two words that got Elon's attention pretty quick because he's the one running Doge, by the way. Bureaucratic. Anywhere that you have a bureaucracy simply means, for those of you not familiar with the word, or you are familiar, but you're not quite sure what it means. Generally, it means layers of people in between decisions and actions. That's what bureaucracy means. Bureaucracy means there are layers of people between a decision and an action. The United States government is a great example of bureaucracy. It's nothing but bureaucracy. The reason that Elon is in Doge right now, and the reason Doge is doing what it's doing, and the reason so many people are upset about what Doge is doing, what it's doing, this is going to be the meat and potatoes of our conversation here today, is because Elon Musk is looking to eliminate so many layers of bureaucracy in the government. Now, why are people upset about layers of bureaucracy being removed? Well, first of all, because layers of bureaucracy means people. That means some of these people are going to be removed. There are some people who are going to lose their jobs and lose their careers and lose their salaries because they are the layers. And Elon is eliminating layers. For those of you who don't know, when Elon bought what used to be Twitter, now known as X, he fired 80% of the staff. 80% of the people who were working at what was Twitter got fired when he took it over and turned it into X. And any of you who uses X notices that the app's usefulness and operations did not change at all. If you didn't change the name and you didn't know anything about Elon, you didn't watch the news, you wouldn't even know that he had bought the app. It was still running the exact same way. What's the point? That on 20% of the staff, the app still operated the exact same way. They had 80% of basically pork fat built into their business for no reason. There's a bunch of people working there that didn't do anything to make the app work any better or worse. He fired a bunch of them and the app is still working. This is the way entrepreneurs work. Elon Musk is, I think we can say, quintessential entrepreneur. He is looking to eliminate waste, which means firing people, eliminating jobs that don't matter, looking into layers of bureaucracy and asking himself or those people in those layers, what exact purpose do you serve here? And if you can't answer the question, what purpose you serve, you lose your job. And those of you who are not familiar with just history and business and professionalism, entrepreneurship, this is not new. Now, Elon Musk is not the first person to ever do this. There are people who have taken over businesses, taken over companies, whether as CEOs or as owners in the past, who have done the exact same thing Elon is doing. They come into a company, they notice that it's 20 people on the payroll. They meet with each one of the 20 people on the payroll and they say, explain to me what exactly you do here that makes you worth your salary. And if the person cannot explain it, they lose their job and their position is eliminated. It's not that they get replaced by another person. We don't need 20 people here. We only need 6. Okay, so 14 people get fired because you're not actually doing anything that contributes to the bottom line of the business. And you go. All right, CEOs do this all the time. New business owners do this all the time. Elon Musk just happens to be a famous person and he's doing it on a big stage. So everybody's talking about it, but this is not some new thing. He didn't just invent this out of nowhere. So this bureaucratic inefficiency is a big deal. And the reason a lot of people are up in arms about it is because Elon Musk is connected to Donald Trump. And a lot of people don't like Donald Trump. But who is against inefficiency being eliminated? Who has a problem with this and why? And by the way, I'm going to answer questions and comments at the end for those who came in the middle of while I'm speaking. Who's against eliminating inefficiency in a bureaucratic organization? I've asked this question many times. I've yet to get a certain answer. Who here believes that the government operates on an efficient level? Who here believes the government is efficient? Put yes if you believe they are. Put no if you believe the government is not efficient. I mean the government as an entire entity in a general sense. I don't mean like since Trump came back. I just mean in general, do you believe the government is efficient? I do not believe the government is efficient in the way that they operate. Why? One of the reasons is because they have so many layers. Any of you who works in the corporate world, you understand this very well. I've done some corporate work. I will not do too much more corporate work in the future for the very reason that I'm about to explain to you is that when you work with a bureaucracy, there are so many layers between every question and answer, so many layers between every thought and decision, so many layers between, hey, here's my invoice and hey, here's your money. I don't like that shit. This is one of the reasons why as an entrepreneur, I want to work with the decision maker or the decision makers number two. I don't want to work with, I don't want to be getting an email with 8 people CC'd and I don't even know who half of these people are. And I just sent my invoice and now it has to go to this person and this person has to okay it. And these 3 people got to sign off and then they got to send it to the finance department. Then they're going to okay it. Then I get an email that says your invoice got okayed and then you'll get the money in 10 days. And I'm like, what the hell is this shit? I'm not into any of that. Now, some of you, this is the way you live. All right. That ain't the way I live. And ain't the way Elon lives. All right, that's bureaucracy. Now, for those of you who want an example of what bureaucracy looks like, that's bureaucracy. Where efficiency is, I call the owner of a business, some small business I did business with, and say, hey, here's the fee. They say, okay. I say, all right, here's the invoice, or I can send you a link. All right, they say, I just paid it, Dre, and I can look at my payment processor and see the money right there. All right, that's efficiency. All right, that's 30 seconds instead of 30 days. So what Elon is doing is trying to eliminate the nonsense. He's trying to cut the fat because here's the issue with that fat. That 30 days, everybody's getting paid during that 30 days. Everybody's getting paid. Everybody who's at work is getting paid. So critics are arguing that USAID has overlapping functions within the state with the State Department, leading to inefficiencies and redundant efforts. All right, they say critics argue. All right, they're trying to be nice. This is just a reality. This is the reality of anything that involves the government. There's a ton of redundancy. There are a ton of inefficiencies. There are a ton of overlaps. There's a ton of the same stuff happening over and over and over again. Good morning, Brittany over there on TikTok. Thank you for moderating as usual. So these inefficiencies that happen within the government, again, USAID is just one example. Department of Education is on the menu right now. We all know. Some of you may have seen that video where there was what they do. They locked up the Department of Education building, got security in there, and they told all these Democratic Congress people who are basically trying to get a headline, and they got a headline. They all gathered together. They walked over to the Department of Education building and demanded to be let in. For what reason? Do you work at the Department of Education? No, you're a congressperson. You work at the Capitol building. Why are you coming to the Department of Education building? What exactly are you going to do? What are you going to accomplish? What are you going to achieve? What are you going to get done? How are you going to help education, Maxine Waters, by walking into the building? What are you going to do, Chris Murphy? What are you going to do, AOC? What are you going to do walking into the building? What exactly are you about to achieve? Can you document your achievement if you were to get into the building? What's your list of things to get done here? They're not going to do anything. All they're doing is bringing cameras and they're trying to get a viral moment so they can put it on social media and they can say, hey, my constituents, look how I'm fighting against Donald Trump. Hey, make sure you go donate $10 to my campaign so I can win my next election. That's the whole game here, in case any of you didn't know. All right, they're not fighting for you. They're not trying to save you. They're not trying to help you. They're not doing anything to change your life. They're not doing anything. They're trying to serve themselves by posing as if they're doing something to fight Donald Trump, because fighting Donald Trump gets people excited enough to give them money. That's the whole game here. Any of you ever want to understand why some professional, that means person who gets paid to do a thing, why are they doing something that seems to not quite make sense exactly? Follow the money. All right, that's all these people, that's all these politicians are doing. And this is exactly what Elon is attacking. And that's the reason why they're mad at him, because he is attacking their very methods for doing what they do best. But they actually appreciate it at the same time. This is the thing y'all need to get. All of these Democratic politicians are actually happy that Donald Trump won on a subconscious level, because Donald Trump winning gives them a target to fight against, and it gives them a reason to keep hitting you up via email and text message and phone and saying, donate some money to my campaign because look how hard I'm fighting against Donald Trump. Moving on. Point number 2. We're talking here today about Now we're on the downside, the challenges with the USAID organization. Lack of accountability. This is a big one that has changed over the last week. Some claim the USAID operates with insufficient oversight, leading to questionable expenditures and outcomes. Yeah, questionable. That's a very friendly word. Questionable expenditures and outcomes. Is this one true? Absolutely, it's true. Now, again, this is, you can have people who argue on both sides of this conversation. USAID, do they operate with insufficient oversight? Well, this is where Elon has stepped in. By the way, if you're watching me right now on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel because I've been suspended on TikTok 6 times over the last 6 months. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. The link is in my profile, just in case anything happens on TikTok. I'll say that while I'm in the middle of this. Got to remember to keep telling people that. So anyway, the lack of accountability is being remedied by one Elon Musk. All right, he's holding them accountable right now, looking into basically he's doing what do they call it? An audit. He's looking into the books of USAID and seeing, okay, where's this money getting spent? Where's it coming from? Where's it going? And who's benefiting? And how is this helping the United States? How is this helping us? Because we all know Trump's mandate. Whether you agree with it or disagree with it, no one can say they're confused by it. His mandate is what? America first. Trump's America first mandate makes it really clear where he stands on a whole lot of things, such as USAID, which seems to do a whole lot of its work outside of the United States. I mean, it's literally called the United States, it's international development. That's what the whole situation is. It's about international development. And Donald Trump is like, well, why are we developing other countries when our own people are not taken care of the way they need to be taken care of? This is a legitimate question. And he's answering it by saying we're going to pull out of a whole lot of these deals where we're doing all the giving and we're not getting much in terms of receiving. We're going to get out of these deals. And he has Elon Musk as one of his attack dogs, let's say, for lack of a better term, to go and take care of this. So these questionable expenditures and outcomes. What you've heard a lot of people saying, I've seen a lot of people saying on social media is that many politicians are kind of upset about what Elon is doing and what he's going to continue to do because they can see the writing on the wall. USAID is just one aspect of it, but other aspects are going to be Department of Education and others that they are going to be finding out where are these expenditures coming from, where are they going, who's benefiting, whose pocket is this money going into. And some of them, I believe, and I believe that some of Elon's people believe are actual government officials, the same people pushing back against him. And that's the thing that they don't want discovered. I believe a lot of his enemies don't want discovered. And that's why they're fighting so hard and going to court and trying to get injunctions, et cetera, et cetera. And basically what they want to do is slow walk this. They want to ham up the process through the legal system. Any of you who's ever been involved in the legal system, you know, something gets the legal system involved, it immediately slows down. Now, yes, you can get immediate injunctions that's like an immediate thing to happen today. But for the most part, when something gets into the legal system, now it's going to take time and that's going to stretch things out. It slows down the momentum of whoever was doing a thing. And if they can keep doing this over the course of the next 4 years, then maybe they can slow walk Donald Trump's whole process. That's what they're trying to do. And they're going to use the courts if necessary in order to do it. Moving on. Third pushback against the USAID organization is political bias. What is political bias? Allegations have been made that USAID staffers predominantly support certain political parties, potentially influencing the agency's agenda. Well, of course, this is true. It doesn't even matter what side the staff is, because every human has biases. Humans have opinions. Humans have ways of thinking. Humans have leanings. That's, of course, going to be true no matter what side they're on. And one of the reasons that the Doge organization, Department of Government Efficiency, is going after USAID first because they've been leaning to the left. And we know they've been leaning to the left because they were just working for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. So what do you expect? Usually what happens when someone becomes president is that they start staffing all the big organizations with their own people, which is exactly what they're supposed to do. You're not going to see a whole bunch of left-leaning government organizations working under Donald Trump, just like you wouldn't see right-leaning organizations working under Joe Biden. This is just how it is. Next point, constitutional concerns. There's debate over the legality of dismantling a congressionally established agency without legislative approval. This has been the main the biggest and strongest argument that is happening between the left politically and Donald Trump's administration is people are saying that this is a congressionally established agency, and if you're going to tear it down, then you have to actually go through Congress in order to do it. And then there are people in Congress, of course, you got the Democrats in Congress who don't have a majority right now. And then maybe the never Trump Republicans, they get enough of them on their side, then they can stop this from happening if they were to go through Congress to do it. The thing is, Department of Government Efficiency / Elon, they ain't going through Congress right now. They're not even trying to go through Congress. They're just going in there looking at the books. Now, if that's all they're doing, that's the debate. The debate right now is what exactly are they doing in there aside from doing an audit and looking at the books. And this is what a lot of people have said. What it looks like to me, Department of Government Efficiency, is that they're looking at the books and what organization or business gets mad, this kind of mad, what we've been seeing on the news when someone's just looking at the books and find out where the money's going. I think the only people who get mad are the people who don't want you to find out where the money's going. That's the way I see it. If any of you sees it different, then when we get into the comments, you can go ahead and share it. But that's what they're doing, is looking at what's happening, who's in charge, what have they been doing, and what can be fixed here for efficiency. Again, we already know what Elon is about. When he took over Twitter, he fired 80% of the staff. The app never stopped running. There were no lags. Nothing went wrong with the app, even though 80% of the staff no longer worked there because they didn't need them. This is what happens in corporate America. This happens a lot. Some of you who work in corporate, you may be one of the people benefiting from this right now. So you should hope someone like Elon never comes into your company, because it might mean you getting fired. This happens in the government all the time. This happens in academia, probably at the three of these, academia is probably the least amount, but it happens there. Definitely happens in corporate, and it happens all the time in government. Government, the entire United States government, there's a ton of fat. If Elon could have his way, and he didn't have to go through a whole bunch of red tape and paperwork in order to do it, I would bet 80% of the people who work for the government right now will be fired, and the government would still operate the same way it's operating now. None of you would notice any difference, any failures, any problems, any leaks. The only thing you would notice is the people mad about the efficiencies being worked into the system. They would make so much noise about it that it would feel like something bad is happening, even though you can't tangibly see anything bad happening. You want an example of that? Think of the virus that we had 5 years ago. All right, everybody was telling you something bad was happening, but many of you never experienced anything bad actually happening. And last point, number 5, this is the negatives of USAID. Alternative approaches. Some suggest that integrating USAID's functions into the State Department could streamline foreign aid and align it more closely with U.S. foreign policy objectives. Well, I believe this is what Donald Trump / Doge are looking to do, is that they want to streamline everything. That's what Department of Government Efficiency is about. It's about streamlining things, making things more efficient, eliminating red tape, eliminating the fat, trimming the fat, getting all the extra out of there, making sure the money's going where it's supposed to go, making sure that anyone who's not supposed to be eating off of what we're doing here, meaning the Trump administration, getting them out and doing things as efficiently and as effectively as possible. And again, the only people who have a problem with this are people who are benefiting from the fat not being trimmed. The reality is, in life, most people are not really adding much tangible value to a space in which they are taking from it. Therefore, when someone like Elon comes in and starts demanding that people actually be held accountable for performance in order to keep getting paid, 80% of the people in the room ain't performing, and therefore they shouldn't be getting paid anymore. You're going to piss off more people than you're going to appease, because the high performers are usually only about 20% of the people. The average people who could easily be replaced or eliminated or automated or outsourced in some way, they usually constitute about 80% of the people. So no matter what Elon does, 80% of the people are going to be pissed off because they're not efficient, they're not effective, they're not really adding anything of value to the bottom line of what's happening in an organization. All of that, everything that I just shared with you are generally corporate arguments. Now let's get more to the real shit. Okay, and I'm going to answer questions and comments when I'm done with this. First of all, this is your money. Any of you didn't know that. All right, the money that USAID is spending, distributing, using, etc., that's your money. That's your tax dollars. Whether those are tax dollars that get taken out of your paycheck, whether it's taxes that you pay every year through your accountant or your TurboTax software or doing taxes yourself, or it's the taxes that you pay when you go to the grocery store and there's sales tax. That's your money that USAID is spending. Therefore, when someone like Elon Musk walks into the room and says, we're going to look at your books and find out where this money's actually going, you should be happy, because you should want to know where your money's going. Wouldn't that just make sense? Don't you want to know where your money's going, how it's being spent? I was on X yesterday and I saw somebody, they had posted a thread about Australia. And one of the things that they showed, I don't know if this is true or not. Any of you who lives in Australia, you can verify it. I'm pretty sure it was true. I have no reason to believe they'd be lying. They said that in Australia, when you pay taxes, they have I don't know if this is on a website or they send it to you documented wise. They show you where all of your tax dollars went, each organization that took your tax dollars, and exactly what they're doing with the money. Why would Americans not want something like that? I'm not saying we should be like Australia, because speaking of that virus a few years ago, you wouldn't want to be Australia. But what I am saying is that we should want to know where our money's going. That's our money. You, as an American citizen who pays taxes, if you spend money here, you're paying taxes. That is your money, and you should want to know what's happening with that money at all times. So what organization on the planet has a problem with their books being audited? Who has a problem with their books being audited? Again, if you're doing things on the up and up. Now, if you're doing some nonsense, then of course you got a problem with the books being audited. So I believe the people who are connected to USAID are pissed off because Elon Musk is going to notice some inefficiencies happening in there. And what they're doing is, instead of saying that, because they can't say that, then they'd be guilty. But instead, what they say is, well, he's doing something that is going against the Constitution, or he didn't go through Congress to do this, or he doesn't have the legal right to do it. So we're going to go get a judge to try to stop it. And they're trying to make it seem like it's one thing when it's actually another thing. And the thing that it actually is he's going to find the inefficiencies. He's going to point out the inefficiencies, and he's probably going to expose the inefficiencies once he finds them, if he can legally put it out there. And some people are going to get exposed. Some people are going to get embarrassed. That's what they're really trying to stop from happening. That's what they're trying to stop from happening. And in order to stop that from happening, they will go to any length. And the story that they're telling all of you every day, these are your Congress people, the story that they're telling you every day is that they're trying to protect you, that they're trying to protect the Constitution, that Donald Trump's a terrible person. He's going to destroy the Constitution. He's going to be a dictator from day one. He's going to be a bloodbath. All the negative things they've already told you about Donald Trump. This one, if you already hate Donald Trump, fits right into the story. So that's why it's an issue. The reason why this is a debate is because it fits right into the negative story that a lot of people have already bought about Donald Trump. And because that negative story has already been successfully installed, it's much more easy to get people to believe this one. But this is a completely different, not completely different, this is a different situation, which has nothing really to do with Donald Trump, because Elon Musk is doing most of this work right here. And they just connected Musk to Trump, guilty by association. And they're making it seem like he's trying to destroy democracy and ruin the Constitution and do whatever it is that he wants to do and just run roughshod over the American people. And again, it fits because people have already bought the negative story about Donald Trump. But let's continue. Now, allegedly, everything I'm about to say in this next point is alleged, that they give money to celebrities to make it easier. This is just an example. They gave money to celebrities to make it easier for the United States to be okay, or the government, not the government, excuse me, the people, the citizens, as you, to be okay with the United States giving money to the country with the letter U. That starts with the letter U, that's in conflict right now with the country with the letter R. The United States is giving a lot of money, in the billions of dollars, to basically military defense of the country with the letter U. And they say Angelina Jolie, $20 million. Orlando Bloom, $8 million. Jean-Claude Van Damme, $1.5 million. Sean Penn, $5 million. Ben Stiller, $4 million. Now, some of these people have claimed that they were not paid, and that their trips to, and they went to the country, the letter U country, since they've been in conflict. Now, let's just think about that. So these people are named Angelina Jolie, Orlando Bloom, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Sean Penn, Ben Stiller. They all went to the country with the letter U, and they all visited the country, and they took pictures with their leader and all of these things. And it was news. It was on social media, all this stuff. These people did these things, right? Some of them said that they were not paid to go to the country with the letter U, and that they self-funded their trips. Now, let me ask you a question. Why would any of these people all these people are actors and actresses who most of you know who they are, right? Even if you don't watch their movies, you heard of them before, right? Why would they? I mean, it's not like they're military experts. They're not fighting. Why would you travel to a country that's in the middle of a war and spend your own money to go there? Why would you do that? Can somebody give me a logical explanation of why Angelina Jolie would go to the country with the letter U while they're at war and fund it herself? Why would she do that? Why would Orlando Bloom do that? Why would Van Damme do that? Why would Sean Penn do it? Why would Ben Stiller do it? Why would you go there while they're in the middle of a war? I'm not going to any countries in the middle of a war unless I'm there to fight. And it's my country. I ain't going nowhere. And they said they self-funded it. So you're going to spend your own money to go to a country that's in the middle of a war while they're at war. What are you doing there? What's your point? What purpose are you serving? You went there to take pictures? Really? That's where you went? You go to Hawaii or the Puerto Rico or something, or Miami. Why you went to a country that's in the middle of a war on your own? Why would you do that? Again, somebody help me make that make sense. And the answer is all nonsense. All right, these people got paid to do it. And what some say, this is alleged, some are saying that what happens is organizations like USAID pay money to these celebrities to go and stand next to President Z, that guy. And when they stand next to him, now the American people see, okay, here's a famous person that I know. They're standing next to this guy who I never heard of. Okay, this guy must be somebody. Oh, he's the leader of that country. Oh, that country's in a conflict with this country that we're supposed to hate. Okay, then that makes it okay for the United States to give money to the country with the letter U because this guy's standing next to the famous actor or actress that I heard of before. That's the game, allegedly. And USAID they're in control of this money. They're in control of this whole process. That's what they're saying. This is also true when it comes to media. We're gonna get to the media in a moment. I'll get to them later. Let's move on. The purpose of all of this is, again, to make the leaders of certain countries more popular amongst American citizens, which makes it easier to pass any type of bill or law, because a lot of this stuff has to go through Congress, right? Government spending has to go through Congress. So the bills or laws get passed that allow America to send more money to that letter U country. We sent billions of dollars to that country. Why? Why have we been able to send billions of dollars to that country? Well, because Congress passed bills and laws that say we're going to send money to this country. Now, why does Congress need Angelina Jolie involved in them sending money to the country with the letter U? That is an important question that we have to answer. This is where you got to start connecting. This is the chain reaction that the government works off of. Even though the government is highly inefficient, and even though they have levels of bureaucracy, these people who are working there are not idiots. That I ain't saying they're the smartest people in the room, but they're not the dumbest either. So here's what they understand. Because people who work in Congress, they work for you. In case any of you forgot that. They work for you. And they come up for election every, 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, whatever. They come up for election. So they know any bad things that they've done that their constituents don't agree with, they could have used against them by their next opponent, by their voters, and they can get voted out. They lose their jobs. So they need you to be okay with the things that they did. So for you to be okay with the thing that they did, they have to show you something that makes it okay. Okay, hey, here's Angelina Jolie standing with President Z. All right, now we can give money to President Z, right? Because you like Angelina Jolie, right? Okay, so now you're okay with it. So when they pass that bill that gets the money over to President Z, now it feels more okay. I'm just giving you one example here. But this is the kind of stuff that the government does under our noses all the time. All right, this happens all the time. Now, with Trump and his team in place, this is getting exposed. This is not new. It's just getting exposed. The exposure of it is new, but the fact that it's happening is not new. Any of you who follows the government closely, if any of you reads a lot about the government, or you've read a lot about what they call conspiracy theories that often end up being, not all conspiracy theories end up being true, but a good amount of them end up actually being factually accurate and truthful. This goes back years, as far back as you can think. This kind of governmental corruption, paperwork, red tape, crookery, for lack of a better term. This stuff has been going on for decades. It's been going on with the Democrats. It's been going on with the Republicans. This is not new. And again, all allegedly. I'm putting the word allegedly around all of this so I don't get kicked off TikTok. Again, might get kicked off anyway. Several presidents have been in on this game, by the way. Bush, and again, we're talking all sides. Bush, Biden. We heard so much about Biden in the U country. That ain't even, that's fresh news. We know. Obama. They have family members working for the organization. Do y'all know that Barack Obama's mother worked for USAID? Did y'all know that? Barack Obama's mom worked for USAID. She doesn't work there anymore, but she did. She worked there. Liz Cheney, she's been involved. All right. And what happens is this organization, USAID, because the United States, again, has our hands in a whole lot of other countries' businesses. And the thing is, a lot of countries want us involved in their business because we have resources. So a lot of countries want us involved because they get access to our resources, of which the United States has a lot more than most of the countries whom we are helping, dealing with, getting involved with, et cetera. And what the United States will do is that they will fund campaigns in other countries just to get the leaders installed who the United States wants. Now, it depends on who's in charge, right? So when the left is in charge, they want this person to win president in this country, this random country over here. Is not random to them, but this random country over here, they want this person to be president and not that person. USAID will put money behind the person that the United States wants to win the presidency so that they win the presidency. And with that person installed, that person, first of all, number one, knows that they won because the United States put money behind them, which means what? Now, when we call and say, yo, we need you to do ABC, you can't not take that call. And you can't not do what we want you to do because only reason you're in power is because we put you in power. So now you're owned. Now you're controlled. You understand? Now you got puppet strings on you. That's one thing that allows us to kind of move the chessboard around however we want in the world internationally. That's number one. And number two, now we can choose the person who's going to do the things that we want them to do anyway without us having to make the call. We already know they're going to do what we want them to do because we already had that conversation before we put $1 into their campaign. And they understood, we don't put any money in your campaign, you're going to lose. So you want to win, you want to lose. All right. So you want to, it's like if you saw the movie Training Day, what Denzel would say when they caught a drug criminal, they say, what do he say? He said, you want to go to jail, you want to go home. All right. So you want to go to jail, you want to go home. All right. You want to go home? Okay. Here's what you need to do. And when we start putting money into your campaign, understand this is what you're signing up for. All right. And once you sell your soul to the devil, you can't buy it back. All right. That's what it is. I'm not saying the United States is the devil. I'm from the United States, but get my point. So this is what the United States can do. Again, I'm giving you examples here, but what they do is they use their money to fund international campaigns, and any kind of international campaign. It doesn't have to be a governmental type of thing like an election. It can be, okay, this country is fighting this country, or inside of one country, we got this group fighting this group, and then we end up getting involved. How do we get involved in the country with the letter V? Back, what was that, about 50 years ago? How did we get involved in it? Why were we involved in it? Why did we get involved in it? It was a battle between the north part of the country against the south part of the country. All the way over there, the country with the letter V, 50 years ago. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm sure we might have some veterans listening to this right now. Why did we get involved in it? What do we have to do with any of that? How is that our business? How? It's because of organizations like USAID. We get involved in business that ain't ours because we can influence things, and we arrogantly believe that as soon as we walk in a room, all of a sudden everything's going to work out. Well, how'd that one work out? For example, how'd that one work out? Now, technically, depending on who you ask, we quote unquote won. No, we did not win. We lost. We lost that when it came to public sentiment because a lot of people did not agree with us even being involved in the first place. And we ended up having to get out of there kind of with a black eye, even though we technically didn't lose on the battlefield. But the point is, why are we involved? Why are we even doing that? And a lot of Americans were not feeling what we did in that situation. Again, just using that as an example. Let's move on to the journalist side of things, the news, quote unquote, the news side of things. USAID uses their money to pay journalists to push stories. This one shouldn't be that much of a surprise to most of you. That if the United States government, depending on who's in charge, let's be clear, depending on who's in charge. So let's just say the previous administration, Biden-Harris administration, if they want a certain news story to be out there, they can get that news story out there. So y'all understand that the news ain't really the news, right? You understand that most people calling themselves journalists are not actually doing journalism. What they're doing is public relations. So journalism is when you tell the story that maybe somebody doesn't want to be told. Public relations is when you're doing the very thing they want you to do. Public relations means you're just pushing the storyline based on who's in charge and what they want you to say. So the average person, when you see the same headline and the same story over and over and over again, what happens? What do you do with that storyline? You accept it. If you hear over and over and over again for 10 years that Donald Trump is going to destroy democracy, you believe that Donald Trump is going to destroy democracy. Anything that he does, or anything that he says, or anything that you disagree with, or anything that you are told to disagree with, you believe it confirms, excuse me, it's called confirmation bias. It confirms that Donald Trump is doing exactly what you were told he was going to do, which is what? Destroy democracy. So everything Donald Trump's done over the last, what's it been, 3 weeks now? Donald Trump's been president for 3 weeks. So every single thing he does that one of his political enemies takes out of context and they make it seem terrible and they present it to the public, anyone who bought the idea that Donald Trump was going to destroy democracy, anything that you're told today, you believe, okay, well, here's more confirmation he's destroying democracy because you bought the lie from the beginning. It's not that he's doing anything now to destroy democracy. He's not destroying democracy. He's doing what a president does, which is his damn job, running the country. But it's being framed as he's destroying democracy because that was already implanted in you back in 2017. So now, of course, everything that happens, oh, look at that, more destroying of democracy. Nonsense. Okay. When you see the same headline over and over and over again, you will accept it and believe it. Anybody hears anything often enough, you will accept it. This is the way the subconscious mind works. 3 ways to program the subconscious mind: immersion, emotionalization, and repetition. You hear anything over and over again, you will accept it, even if it's complete bullshit. And that applies to every single one of you. And think of all the most hated people by the mainstream media today. Think of who are the most hated people by the mainstream media today. And again, by the mainstream media. So, of course, you got Donald Trump. You have people like Mr. Jones, who has InfoWars. Is he pretty much hated by the mainstream media? Yes, he is. Think about the kickboxer in Romania who got banned from all the social media. Think of Candace Owens. Think of someone like Rudy Giuliani. Think of Tucker Carlson, maybe. And any other story you can think of. These get coordinated. These are coordinated, folks. Please do not believe. I said this 10 years ago. Please do not believe that what you see on quote unquote the news is actual. First of all, sometimes it ain't even information. Same way McDonald's ain't food. It ain't information. It's a storyline made up because they, mainstream media, and sometimes in conjunction with the government, sometimes not in conjunction with the government, because when Trump was president, they were still doing what they were doing. The first time around, I mean, if they want a certain storyline out there, they'll get the storyline out there and they'll use money to get it out there. And this can apply to any of you as well. Any of you have enough money, you can get the whole world to believe certain things about you within a week if you spend enough money to get the news out there. That's just how it works. That's how the mainstream media works. The mainstream media is not telling you the truth. They're not telling you, quote unquote, the facts. They're not even telling you news. They're telling you what they want you to believe. This is an information war. All right. So Mr. Jones, he called it InfoWars. He knew exactly what he was talking about. He said that 30 years ago. This is an information war. We're in a hot information war right now. And right now, as I already told you, they're going to court to get judges to block Doge, Elon, from doing what they're doing, from, again, reviewing the finances of an organization. Why would you go to court to get a judge to stop Elon from looking at the finances of an organization? Now, there's a good reason. There's a real reason. I already told you the real reason. The real reason is they have certain things in those books that they don't want found out. And there are certain people who don't want to be exposed. So they're going to court, and they're going to court with whatever they're saying in court. We don't see the details, but we don't see the details of court filings. Well, we couldn't, but I didn't look at them. Here's the good reason. The good reason is, I already told you. Number one, Donald Trump's destroying democracy. Number two, Elon Musk is the real president, and he bought access to the presidency, and Donald Trump is working for him. Number three, that they are just going to run over top of the Constitution and do whatever it is they want to do. Number four, these people are just lawless, and they just do whatever it is that they want to do, and they're not going through Congress the way they're supposed to. They're not going through the system of checks and balances. Number five, these people just think they're dictators, and they're just going to do whatever it is that they want to do. Number six, they are just trying to take it out on their political enemies, all the people who came after them. They're just, unlawfully and unconstitutionally going after them as if this is some type of phenomenon to go after your political enemies after we did not just watch what Joe Biden's administration did to Donald Trump in 2024. this is rich, right? But this is what they're saying. They're just going to go after their political enemies. And notice all of these things that I'm pointing out to you. They're all emotion based. None of them are based in logic. None of them are based in rational thinking. All of them are based in emotion. Why does that matter? This matters because when you get a human being emotional, then logic does not matter. Emotion overpowers logic 7 days a week, twice on Sunday. You don't have to make logical sense when you have people emotional. This is why what's going to happen over the next 3+ years of Donald Trump's final administration does not have to make any logical sense to half of the people in the country, because half the people in the country are against him, because they've already been conditioned. Some of you listening to this have already been conditioned. Donald Trump's a terrible person and he's going to destroy democracy. He's going to be a dictator on day one. He's never going to leave office. He's going to try to run for a third term and all of these negative things about him. So anything that gets said about him, even if it makes no sense whatsoever, because you've already been conditioned to believe he's terrible, you're going to accept it and believe it. And this is what the politicians are doing. Again, these politicians, some percentage of them, I say about a quarter of them, actually have Trump derangement syndrome. They really are emotionally out of it when it comes to Donald Trump, and they just take anything about him and they stretch it out of all proportion and make it seem terrible. I would say about a quarter of them actually fit that description, maybe even a third. The rest of them, 75%, maybe about 2/3 of them, they know exactly what they're doing. They're just playing the game. The game is keep you excited because that keeps you paying attention to them, builds their brand, and it allows them to hit you up for campaign donations when it's time for them to run for re-election. That's the real hustle, if y'all really want to understand. So any of you who has this idea that your favorite politicians are just doing things out of the kindness of their hearts to help you out, for the most part, no, they're not, because most of them have no capabilities in life other than being in politics. Think about all the politicians that you follow, like Congress people. Let's say the Congress people. Name what career, what was any of them doing professionally before they got into Congress? What has any of them achieved professionally? Or just as a professional, as a business person, as a professional, as a person with a job or career in anything other than what they're doing now, aside from a law degree. That doesn't really, a law degree. There's a lot of people in government with law degrees. Other than that, were any of them running like a successful law practice and then they had to shut it down because the government came calling? I don't think so. How many of them were doing anything professionally, business-wise, again, as a career or running a business before they got into the government? Most of them don't have anything else they're good at. So they need to keep these jobs. That's my point. It doesn't mean they're bad. I mean, the job is a job, but they need to keep these jobs. Donald Trump had a business before he got into the government. Elon Musk has a business outside of the government. What do the people going against Trump have if they don't have the government? If they don't have their job in the government, what they got? I don't know. Now, if you know, tell me. All right, so let me get to the comments. I'm going to start over on YouTube, then we'll jump over to every other app. Will come to TikTok last. This is where the most engagement is at. So Gody said, CFPB actually helped consumers. I'm not saying they didn't help consumers. I'm not saying there aren't positives to every organization. And it's not that they will necessarily stop helping consumers. They may get absorbed into another organization. Consumers can still be helped, but does that mean that they were completely efficient? No, it doesn't. So we can't just randomly pick facts. It's called anecdotal fallacy. Gody said, it helped me and the people around me against predatory bureaus. It helped everybody against predatory bureaus for the most part. That doesn't mean that they don't have inefficiencies involved. It doesn't mean that you can't still get that help in a different way, in a more efficient way. And again, it's not just about you personally. It's about the whole of the American people, which is 330 million people, not just one. Adam said, my state is getting a state level Doge. A few states are doing it. That's interesting. What state is that? Gody said, are you saying? All right, so we got to be very careful with the are you saying. So I'm going to point this out here because I had to do this every day when I do these streams. So when I get to the comments, when someone starts a question by saying to me, Dre, are you saying, or so you're saying, or so basically, anytime you hear one of those phrases, you know somebody's about to rephrase what you said into something that you didn't say, and then they're going to ask you to answer it. Now, this is called a straw man. Now, we'll see how this question goes. So the question is, are you saying these politicians are self-serving and not for the people? That includes Trump as well, right? So there you go. Did I tell y'all that was coming? Did I tell you that? Did I predict that, or did I predict it? I've seen this a million times. So here he says that politicians are self-serving and not for the people. Well, first of all, that's a false binary. A politician can be self-serving and still for the people at the same time. And listen, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm self-serving and I'm for the people. So I do things to help my audiences and help my customers and clients at the same time. I'm helping myself. So it's not one or the other. It's not you can only serve yourself or you serve the people. You can do both. So no, I'm not saying that. So no to your first question. You said that includes Trump as well, right? Well, I already answered that. All right, is Trump helping himself by being president? I believe he is. Of course he's helping himself. No one does anything for nothing. Is he also helping the people? Yes, he is. And again, I'm not even saying that objectively. I'm saying that, do I believe that's his intention? I believe it is. And I believe people who don't like Trump in the government, they also have the same intention. Yes, they're helping themselves. They won't openly admit it because they're not in position to do so. But they will also say, hey, I have positive intentions to helping the people. Now, are they all doing that? No. But do they intend to do it? I believe most of them intend to do that. And they said the way it works is you show us something that we appreciate and then we subscribe. Yes, that is the way it works. Adam said Elon investigating every department. USAID was the one that was not cooperating the most, had to get military to step in. Okay, good to know. Goldie said Trump is hated, but not to the degree he thinks he is. Majority of this nation voted for him. He has more supporters by volume than he has haters. Now, media, though, that's a different story. LOL. Well, what degree do I think he's hated? You can't read my mind. So when I say that half the country, of course, I'm speaking directionally, and half the country voted for him, half the country voted against him. When we're talking the voting public, I'm not talking just people, period. Most people don't vote. But the voting public, half the country voted for, half the country voted against. Directionally, you understand my point, do you not? Now, let's not get into the grains here for no reason. Let's keep the conversation high level. And Pi Squared said trillions wasted. Yes, I believe that's true. Everything is being done by the law. Well, that's the argument right now. All of Congress needs to be audited too. Oh, yes, they do. The thing is, Congress puts all their documents out. Everything Congress does has to be documented, is actually available for any citizen to look at. Thing is, the documents are often so long and wordy that a lot of people don't want to. Ray Rivera says, I want to see arrests. Arrests of who? We have done enough complaining. Nothing will change till we see the corrupt and treason in prison. Well, who are you talking about? Who's supposed to go to prison? Who are you referring to there? And let's see. All right, TikTok, we are on you now. If you got something, go ahead and put it in the comments. And you know my name said you have blinders on. What am I blind to? Tell me what I'm missing. By the way, if you are following me, if you are watching on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm on, as you can see, I'm on YouTube right now as well. I'm streaming on 7 different streaming platforms. Tend to have the most comments through YouTube and TikTok. That's why they're the ones I'm looking at. Brady Hawkins said, are you really acting like Trump isn't bad? Well, in what way? What's all these passive-aggressive comments? If you got something you want to challenge me, you don't say it. I'm not a fan of passive aggression. All right, if you got something you want to say it all out. Say it with your chest. Ken said they get kickbacks from that money. That's how they get rich in office. I don't disagree with that. Brady says, no, you said the same thing. This audit should have happened a long time ago. Yeah, but who was going to do it? Richard Jackson. Who was going to do it? Roland said there are farmers losing their farms now because of elimination of government grants. How does that help us? Well, it's an anecdotal fallacy. I don't know if that's actually true what you're saying there, Roland, but assuming that it is, farmers losing their farms because of elimination of government grants, how's that help? Who's us? Are you a farmer? If you are, then I would suggest you get your business shit together. And if a government grant has been eliminated that cost you your farm, when did that happen? So Wendy says, nothing there. Actors making money from our tax dollars. Oh, yes. Allegedly. Again, Carla, that's allegedly. Jason said they are mad about Musk instead of being mad about their money getting stolen from them. Well, again, if you can make people emotional about a subject, it overpowers everything else. So Brittany said, Rowan said she said to Rowan, there has been a pause, not elimination. Okay, so there you go. There, Rowan, is an answer to your question. Urkashis says, because they have empathy. I don't know what you're referring to there. but even the way that you frame that fragment of a question, era Iraqis, this is an appeal to emotion fallacy. Doesn't work on me. But if you want to try it, you can try it. Alfred said, good questions. Thank you. Carlos said, grifters, a whole dang lot of them. Well, some things they do could be grifting. They could be doing positive things too. Danny said, why do they not have empathy for the American people living below poverty level? Well, it doesn't mean that they don't. It just means that it could possibly mean they just don't have their priorities in the same order that others would want them to have them in. Doesn't mean they don't have empathy at all. I can have empathy for a homeless person. Doesn't mean I'm letting them in my house. So we can't draw the black and white in such a way. Mew2 said, what Musk is doing is good or bad. False binary. I think he's doing what he said he was going to do. That's the way I would answer that question. It doesn't have to be good or bad. Very few things in life are all good or all bad. Actually, everything that happens in life is neutral. It's the way you choose to look at it makes it good or bad. In general, I believe what he's doing is exactly what he and Trump said they were going to do. And I can't be mad at it because they said they were going to do it. Rowan said, okay, there's a pause, but farmers losing their farms. Still, how does that help us? So, Rowan, you came out with some information that was factually inaccurate. Now you've agreed that your information was factually inaccurate, and now you're asking the same question based on your false frame that you came out with. You may have to reset. You may have to reset the table, restart your device, and come back with a more logical question. Custom K9 said, maybe they care about the cause, maybe because the money is a drop in the bucket for them to go. So Custom K9, you're saying that an actor or actress would fly on their own dime to a country that's in the middle of a war to take a picture with the president of that country who's at war, the country that's actually being invaded, because they care about the cause. Now that's quite a reach as far as I'm concerned. That's quite a reach. It sounds good if you're appealing to people's emotions. That doesn't work over here, but that's quite a reach. No, that's not what happened. They got paid to go over there. Allegedly, they got paid to go over there. So he said, if you're doing it with your heart, you don't take pictures. Well, as they say, the purest form of giving is anonymous to anonymous. I agree with the direction you're going there, Joey. They took pictures with the guy because it helps grease the skids to give him money to him. That's what it is. Moo says, question, people think he's going after their security. I don't know what the question is. Lynn Kirk said, maybe staged in another location. Possibly. The whole point is they met. That's the whole point, is that they met with this famous entertainer and this president of this country that's at war. Again, what does this entertainer and this president have in connection? What do they have in common? Nothing. The reason that they make the connection is so that the American people see, I know them, I don't know him. Oh, okay, we can give money to him because he's friends with this person. That's the whole game. It doesn't matter where they took the picture. The story is that they got paid to do it because the actor or actress has no need to go take a picture with this guy. Who is he? He's nobody. Why take a picture with him? Because they got paid to do so. He takes the picture so he can be connected to a famous American person. And now it makes more sense for the American citizens to be okay with him getting money. Rowan says, how does proposing eliminating FEMA help us? Well, ask the person who said it. You're asking me to interpret a proposal that I didn't make. If that was even said, I didn't hear that, but let's assume that you're telling the truth, that there's a proposal that FEMA could be eliminated. Then read the documentation behind whoever made that statement, and then you'll have your answer. But you can't ask me to explain somebody else's thinking. That's not my position. Pancake Mix says the social media play a part in Doge auditing. People don't search for government spending. Well, it depends on what type of spending and what organization is doing the spending, because some of it has to be documented and a lot of it is not. A lot of it does not have to be documented. So does social media play a part? Not really. It plays a part in that it becomes a story, hence me talking about it right now. That's it. Big M said relationship building is literally a thing. Yes, it is. I don't know what you're referring to, though. Carl said millionaires need to pay their fair share so they can give our money to nonsense. No, I'm not a fan of the fair share argument. Big M says some celebrities are your president. I don't know what you're referring to. Yo Mama said the U.S. has been the biggest bully on the world's playground with our money. Yes, that's one way of looking at it, and I can't disagree with you on that. And others say that they're the biggest helper on the planet. So it depends on how you look at it. And Carla said everyone who's been in a photo or commercial with him has been paid. Yeah, they got paid. I mean, they get paid to use their name, image, and likeness. That's it. Question MSM, appreciate you. Rowan said, I don't think we should eliminate all diplomacies. There are viable programs that benefit us. No one said that we should. False binary. Or a false frame, rather. No one said that. Pancake Mix says, was the Super Bowl halftime show a distraction from Doge Fine? I don't think so. I don't think they were watching the Super Bowl. I doubt it. Andrea says, Dad was deep in the CIA. Who are you talking about? Are you talking about Barack? That's what they've said. I mean, it's hard to really tell who was in certain agencies. Jay said, Obama created U.S. digital services. Trump renamed it to Doge and redirected it. I'm not sure that's quite accurate. Digital Whisperer, you can watch the replay on YouTube. My YouTube channel is linked in my profile on TikTok. Big M said, Americans have consumers. That's your resources. What do you mean by that? Abina says, so did Eric, Ivanka, and Don Jr. Nothing wrong with benefiting financially yourself if you're doing it on the up and up. Now, again, there are questions to a lot of it because a lot of it can be hidden from the general public. By the time the general public finds out about things, usually is long already happened. Suzanne said 59 million last week to house illegals in motels. I didn't hear that number, but okay. USAID findings have shown the CIA operates on American soil. Was that news? I didn't know that was news. Jason said they use our tax dollars to overthrow government so they get kickbacks. Possibly. It said we lost because politicians in the road. Well, we got in because of politicians. Drop Dead said been going on a long time. War is a money scam. Well, there's a lot of money involved in war. Yes, you need money to go to war, and people who sell things to help people go to war make a lot of money when wars happen. That is true. So they wanted the South V to win. We should have never been there. Yeah, we shouldn't have been there. We shouldn't have been there. That part I agree with. I think the people who were around at that time, a lot of Americans were on the same page. Carl said, anything in MSM is bought and paid for. I get more info from a guy and his cell phone. Yes, a lot of mainstream media stuff is bought and paid for. That's the way it works. Yo Mama says, Zuckerberg confirmed. Confirm what? Eliza said it was because of communism. You're talking about the V war? Yeah, that's fine. But the United States is not a communist country. So why are they getting involved? That's the question was, why were we getting involved? Why do we care what that country decides to do? Gubo Garcia said, except if you do your own research, confirmation bias is non-existent. No, that's not true. You can do your own research, get a bunch of information that you have decided to accept, and then you can get confirmation bias from anything that you hear that tethers to what you already believe. Doing your own research does not necessarily mean that you have accurate information. It just means you got it yourself without having somebody else tell it to you. But doing your own research does not free you from logical fallacies. That's not true. Carlos said, we are not a democracy. I think they said we're a constitutional republic. Yeah, Jason said it right after. Correct. D, appreciate you. Mel said, I think people are wising up. Don't believe the mainstream media or people bad-mouthing others. Well, some people are wising up to not listen to the mainstream media. But if you really think about it, Donald Trump won in 2016 with the whole mainstream media against him. So it's not like this was some brand new thing. People already knew not to listen to the mainstream media. I think more people have slowly started to turn from that. At the same time, there are people who still listen to the mainstream media because they don't like Trump. So the mainstream media keeps trashing Trump. People are tuning in to hear it. Ruby says, stop watching media. Yeah, well, you still watch media. You're watching media right now. It's just not mainstream media. Richard said, good example is Harry Sisson. I think I've seen him on X. He spewed it. Well, you're the Democrats. What do you expect? That's his job. I ain't mad at him. I'm not mad at people who are spewing things that I disagree with if I know they're doing it as for the Democrats. And you got to say negative stuff about Trump every day. Well, you got bills. You got to pay his bills. Tim, see this, but after watching you for the past half hour, I'm now following. Well, I saw it, Tim. Congrats. And thank you. Good to have you here. So that's why I attacked the Pledge of Allegiance, because it says, and to the Republic. Okay, good point. List says, so don't listen to Fox News. I don't watch anything that comes on TV. I don't even own a TV. So if Fox News fits that description, fine. Katie, Texas conservative, said, keep speaking truth. Thank you. You're welcome. Ruby said, how can they do this? It's our money. Well, because we elect people and then they appoint people and those people do what they want to do. That's how they do it. Simple as that. Same way that Trump got elected and then he appointed Elon, and now Elon's doing what he wants to do. Same thing. Michelle said, what happened here? I don't know how this happened, Brittany, how we get another person on here. Can we get them off of here? I don't know how this happened. How do we remove this person? Oh, there we go. Thank you. All right. So is Doge causing a complete sea change? Not yet. They barely started working. I don't think they can cause a sea change in 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Do you think any libs will ever actually admit what he's doing is for the people? I think yes. I think there are some liberals out there who still call themselves liberals, but say, you know what, I support Trump. They might even went and voted for him. So yes, I think some will. I think some will never. So it depends on which ones you're talking to. Rowan said Trump made the statement about eliminating FEMA. Well, you had to talk to Trump. I can't explain his thinking. That ain't my position. Cynthia said President Trump is playing chess, so change is going to take time. Well, all changes take time, especially when you're dealing with big bureaucracies like the government. And Richard Jackson said, what I heard about FEMA is that they're going to reevaluate it and make it better, more efficient. Yes, it's pretty much that's pretty much the aim with everything that he talks about. Everything Trump has mentioned, they're going to look at it, see how it's working, make changes so that it's more efficient, better, and it better serves the people. But what happens is people who don't like Trump take whatever he says or does, and they make it seem as if he's going to completely eliminate it, and everything he's going to bring is going to get destroyed, and everything he's going to do is going to destroy the entire organization. You'll never have access to any of the things that FEMA does. So when people hear FEMA and Trump, they say, oh, well, Trump's going to eliminate FEMA. Oh, what does that mean? What's going to happen when there's a tornado or earthquake or a hurricane? Oh, we're not going to be able to get help because there won't be any more FEMA. That's not what's going to happen. And most of you listening to this, you're a logical, reasonable person. You understand that's not going to happen. But if you already have Trump derangement syndrome, then you make it seem as if he's going to eliminate it and you'll never have access to any of the stuff that it brings ever again. And then you try to make an issue out of it. Let's not do that here. We're a little bit above that level of conversation. So Go-Kart Granny said, Trump said he's thinking of giving USAID to Mark Rubio's State Department. Yeah, it's one of the things that I said in my points is that one of the arguments against USAID is that it could be just absorbed by the State Department that gets most of the same things done. So that's one of the arguments, but we'll see what they do. Mike said Schaefer said the squeaky wheel always gets the oil. Not in the government, not always. I get your point, Mike, but in the government, no, squeaky wheels often get ignored. That's the whole point. Okie Homegirl says, refreshing to hear factual, non-biased reporting. Thank you. Is this reporting? I don't consider myself a reporter, but I will take that as a compliment. I'll add that to my list of skills. Casey said, is just easy to look up the clips ourselves and see the media is lying. Well, it is, depending on where you look and what you're looking for, Casey, but it also can be very hard depending on where you're looking and what you're looking for. Danny said, yes, but he lied and said he wasn't paid. He was. Who are you talking about? Who are you referring to there, Danny, when you said that? When you say he? Danny said, because we haven't questioned him. Well, a lot of people don't get questioned. DPXJ says, what is your profession? What is my profession? I own a business. My company's called Work on Your Game. You can find out more about it by going to dreuniversity.com. We work with high-level professionals and teams and businesses on high-level performance done consistently and producing results. Mark said, I'm sorry. I hope that wasn't me. I'm a U.S. agent for the NIA. Oh, yeah, that was you, Mark. I might have pushed the button by accident. It might have been. I don't think it was you. I think it was me. I think I pushed the button that I shouldn't have pushed. Mike said FEMA sent out $59 million after Trump's executive order to New York's illegals. Okay. We'll take your word for that. I can't confirm or deny. Alvaro said FEMA isn't helping anyways. Well, that's what some said. Oh, Harry Sisson. Well, if you work for the Democrats, you should get paid. Listen, I'm not knocking anybody who's getting paid for what they do. If you work for the Democratic Party and they said we're going to pay you to do ABC and you do ABC, they owe you money. They should pay you. I'm not mad at someone who works for the Democrats or the Republicans and it's a job and there's an agreement and you get paid for doing what you're supposed to do. This is the game. Because if we didn't have both sides doing what they're doing, then there'd be no need for me talking about what I'm talking about right now. So we got to appreciate the whole game. So even if you're a staunch conservative, I know a lot of you listen to this are conservatives, you have to appreciate the fact that the Democrats and the liberals and the people on the left exist. Why? Because if an enemy doesn't have anything to fight against, then the sword goes dull. All right, you need something to fight against. So right now, Trump's in, but 4 years from now, Trump ain't going to be in. And you never know. You never know what might happen. So that's just the way that it works. So over on IG, thought I was going to see your story celebrating. I can see you not saying stand to watch the game. Shout out to the Eagles. Yeah, shout out to the Eagles for winning the Super Bowl. But I don't really watch live sporting events like that. I find out what happened, but I don't really watch live sporting events. Okay, so let's see. Are there people receiving checks from Social Security that are frauds? I don't know. Probably. There are probably Social Security checks going out to people who shouldn't be getting the checks and probably checks going out to people who ain't even alive anymore. That can happen. I mean, when you have so many people on the receiving end of something in such a big organization, inefficiencies are natural. They happen. They're going to happen. What Doge is trying to do is to eliminate as many of those inefficiencies as possible. They're not going to eliminate all of them. It's damn near functionally impossible. But it's going to happen. They're going to trim it down. That's their point. So they're starting with the big fish, and then they'll get to the details later. Or if they can. They only got 4 years. 4 years is not a long time when you got such a big organization such as the United States government. 4 years are a very small amount of time, actually. Carlos said, people pushing back on the Doge artists are only making themselves look suspicious. Maybe. If they frame it properly, then they don't look suspicious. That's the trick, which I explained. The trick is framing it in a way such as I'm serving the people. And if you're framing yourself as an enemy of Donald Trump and calling yourself serving the people, it is very easily accepted because people believe Donald Trump is the enemy of the people. So it depends on who you're talking to. So to certain audiences, so someone like you, Carla, yes, it looks suspicious. But to someone who hates Donald Trump, it doesn't look suspicious at all. It looks like you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. Danny says, when he was challenged that he was paid, he said he was not. Paid by who, though? And it depends on how it was worded, because it's very easy to walk around those. It's like when Oprah Winfrey had Kamala Harris on an Oprah set during the election. And then after that, people said, well, Oprah got paid $2 million or $10 million, whatever the number was. Oprah came out and said, no, I did not get paid. And it turns out that Oprah's company got paid, but the check was not written directly to Oprah herself. So was Oprah factually accurate that she was not paid? Yes. Was she telling the truth that she didn't get paid? No, she was playing around with the truth. So it depends on how you word a question. And when you're dealing with these folks, especially people who are like influencers on the internet, they're usually pretty good with words. So you got to be very careful how you word a question, because if you word it the wrong way and you give them a loophole to get out of it, they can answer your question in a way that makes them seem innocent when they're actually they're just playing around with the truth with you. But if you don't catch it, then they can slip right around you. You don't even notice that they did it. So you got to be very careful with these folks. They can talk circles around you if you don't know how to catch them. That's the reason why I break these things down, to help y'all understand how they can talk circles around things like that. Like Oprah is a good example. Rowan said, FEMA is not helping you, but I'm a fire survivor in Los Angeles. They are helping. Well, again, these are anecdotal fallacies, Rowan, what you're saying. You're talking about how you survived the fire personally does not mean that's the reason why FEMA should exist. FEMA doesn't exist personally to help you. All right, FEMA exists in general for the people, for a general point, for a general idea, not necessarily for any individual person. Furthermore, if you're a fire survivor in LA or a hurricane survivor in North Carolina and FEMA had not helped you the way that you wanted to be helped, would you be on here saying that FEMA should be destroyed? Based on the framing of the couple comments that I've noticed from you, Rowan, you probably would. But that would also be anecdotally fallacious. Your personal experience does not account for the overall existence of the organization that has to serve 300 million people. Your personal experience is irrelevant, generally speaking. Now, again, I couldn't be a politician saying that, but I'm not a politician. All right, so I do these live streams usually to tell y'all what's happening moving forward. I usually do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. So if you like this one, make sure you're following me on whatever platform. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, because the replays are always on my YouTube channel. And that's youtube.com/@DreB, D-R-E, and the letter B. My last name is Baldwin. I'm going to be traveling this week. I'm going to be in Vegas all the rest of the week. So any of you who's in Vegas, holler at me. I will be around. I will be outside in Vegas. And when I say outside, I don't necessarily mean out, literally outside, because let's look at the weather in Vegas. It's going to be cold in Vegas this week. It gets cold in the wintertime. A lot of people don't know that. So right now, technically, it's 40 degrees in Vegas. I will not be outside when it's 40 degrees. This week, it'll be in the 60s, low 60s, mid 50s. Many days. I will be outside, as in outside, inside of the venues. I'll probably be hanging around Caesars a lot this week. Caesars Palace, or what's it called? Yeah, Caesars Palace, the event venue. That's where I'll be at this week in Vegas. So I will not be streaming my live streams the normal time, Monday through Friday. I may do a live stream somewhere in between this week, but it's not going to be the normal live like what you see here. So I will be back doing normal lives next Monday. Next Monday, February 17th, I'll be back doing normal live streams like this one. Same time, same place next Monday. For the rest of this week, I'm not going to have any scheduled live streams, but I will be posting on my platforms and all that. Any of you wants to see my back catalog of work, it's on my YouTube channel. So my past live streams, me talking about social issues, current events, politics, etc. I have a whole playlist on YouTube where all of those videos are housed. You can always find them there. You can always watch the replays there. My YouTube channel, I'm live on YouTube right over here. Shout out to the people on YouTube. And what else? Oh, yeah, DreUniversity.com. You want to work with me directly, have me as your direct coach. That's at the university. You want to get one of my books, I'll tell you which one to get. You can get this one for free. It's called The Third Day, The Decision That Separates the Pros from the Amateurs. The book's free. All you got to do is pay for the shipping. We will ship you a physical copy. Maybe I'll even send you this one. You see, paperback book. Third Day. This is all about how you show up and give your best effort when you least feel like it. If you don't have this book yet, go get it. I've written 40 books, so we'll offer you more books when you go into the sales funnel, or you can just get this one, thirddaybook.com. That link is not in my bio on TikTok, but if you just type it in, third day, then the word book.com. That's where you can get that. That's thirddaybook.com to get one of my books, DreUniversity.com. Workonmygame.com. You want to get my emails. I already given you too much stuff. Y'all going to forget most of this. Workonmygame.com is where you can get on my email list for free. And yes, that's it, folks. Everybody have a great rest of your Monday. Have a great week. If I don't do another live stream this week, we will be back next Monday. I will see you all at least then. Work on your game. We out of here.